This video is to show how to dismantle ZF Gearbox Model 16S221. The first step is to disconnect the high and low gear. Pull out the high and low mechanical plunger switch. Don't forget to remove the pin. Pulsar speed sensor. Pull out guide pin dowel. Remove detent plunger for high and low shift fork rails. Next is to remove the transmission shifting splitter cylinder. Pull out the reverse idler gear shaft. And remove the splitter shifter piston. Pull out the reverse idler gear. Disconnect the gear shift mechanism. Disconnect the gear housing. Unscrew the detent plunger for the splitter gear fork shaft. Remove splitter shifter mechanical plunger switch. Don't forget to remove the pin. Remove screw plug, where to unlock the gear shift fork rail. While pulling up the gearbox housing, push the locking pin to release the gear shifter fork shaft. Take out the gears and the gear shift fork with shift rails. This is the cause of the problem. The engaging ring for gear number 3 and gear number 4 are worn out. Pull out input shaft together with the counter gear. Take out the input shaft compression washer. Now remove the clutch fork. Make sure that the pin is fully inserted into the shaft. Now remove input shaft connecting plate. Then next is the oil pump. Spacer ring on the input shaft bearing and to the counter gear bearing. Now we will proceed to dismantle the main gears. The first is to remove the bearing lock. Connect the puller to gear number 4 to remove the bearing. The place to insert the puller is very important. Misplace may cause damage to gear parts. The engaging ring for gear number 4 is worn out. Synchronizer for gear number 4. Engaging sleeve for gear number 3 and 4. Change the position of the main shaft. Remove retaining ring. Then, pull out the bearing. This is the reverse gear. Use press machine to remove gear number 1 and the reverse gear bearing race. Reverse gear bearing race and the reverse gear hub. This is gear number 1. Engaging ring for gear number 1. Synchronizer cone for gear number 1. Engaging sleeve for gear number 1 and gear number 2. Keep the gear shift detent strut in a secure place. Small parts are difficult to find when rebuilding the transmission. Again, use a press machine to take out gear number 2 and the bearing race of gear number 1. The bearing race for gear number 1. Guide sleeve for gear number 1 and 2. Synchronizing cone for gear number 2. And the engaging ring for gear number 2. And this is gear number 2. Now change the position of the main shaft on the press machine to remove gear number 3 and the bearing race of gear number 4. Bearing race for gear number 4 with washer. Guide sleeve for gear number 3 and 4 and synchronizing cone for gear number 3. And the broken parts, engaging ring for gear number 3. And this is gear number 3 with the bearing. Engaging sleeve for gear number 3 and 4. Now dismantle the input shaft, remove retaining ring and the input shaft bearing. Next is the splitter gear and the splitter gear engaging ring with synchronizing cone. Now we proceed to dismantle the counter gear, remove retaining ring to pull out the bearing and the splitter counter gear. Pull out counter gear number 4. Now pull out counter gear for gear number 3. Now proceed to dismantle the high and low gear. Remove swivel screw for high and low forks. Next, the high and low piston cylinder. Pull out high and low piston shaft. Pull out output flange. Pull out steering pump and the steering pump idler gear housing. Take out steering pump idler gear. Use special tools to pull out the high and low gear housing. Now, pull out high and low gear housing. Next, take out the high and low gear shift fork and the intermediate plate. Pull out the engaging ring. Thrust needle roller bearing. Next is the engaging sleeve. Remove the retaining ring to pull out the guide sleeve. Next is the synchronizing cone and the engaging ring with the flange. The ring gear carrier and the ring gear. Synchronizing cone, engaging ring, and the flange. Dismantle planetary gears. Remove oil pipe for cleaning. Take out fork shaft locking pin. Remove piston splitter shaft seal and high and low piston shaft seal. This is how to remove high and low piston seal. Hope this video will help. Please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching.